We're starting in the second chelik of Likutei Moharan. It's called Likutei Moharan Tinyana. We're starting with Hashmata. It's a little paragraph that's brought before the main Torahs, the main chapters in Likutei Moharan. Echad Haya Avram. Avram was one. It's a pasuk in Yechezkel. Sh'Avram avad es Hashem rak l'yedei shayachad. Avram Avinu served Hashem only through the inyan that he was one. He imagined in his mind that he was the only person in the whole world. And he didn't look at any of the people, he didn't pay attention to any of the people that weren't serving Hashem. So it held him back from serving Hashem. He didn't pay any attention to them. He didn't look at his father or anyone else that was stopping him from serving Hashem. He served Hashem like he was the only person in the whole world. He didn't pay attention to anybody else, to anyone that was stopping him. He went and he said, I'm serving Hashem, it doesn't make a difference what other people are doing, especially if they're doing Averos, especially if they're trying to stop him from serving Hashem. He went ahead and he served Hashem regardless of all people and all their ideas, everything they tried to stop him from serving Hashem. That's what it means, Echad Avram, he was one, meaning he looked at himself as if he was one, as if he was the only one in the whole world. And this is what it means, Echad Avram. And similarly, anyone who wants to start serving Hashem, the only way every person could start serving Hashem is only by recognizing that and thinking in his mind that he's the only person that exists in the whole world. With regards to serving Hashem, to pay no attention to everybody else. Not to look at anyone else in the whole world that stops him from serving Hashem, like as if they don't exist. That's how much you should not pay attention to them. That's what the Rebbe is saying. Echad Ha'avram. You have to look at yourself as if you're the only one. So not just to avoid them, but mamash to not pay attention to them, to imagine as if they didn't exist b'chlal. Not to look at any people that are stopping from serving Hashem. Like, for example, his father, mother, his father-in-law, or his wife, or his children. Here he's mentioning people that are very close to him. A lot of times the close relatives can stop a person from serving Hashem. Often just the fact that they don't want him to serve Hashem, or even if they don't actually actively stop him from serving Hashem, a lot of times the peer pressure and all these things are things that stop a person from serving Hashem. If a person were to imagine and to look at himself like he's the only one in the whole world, so his service of Hashem would be much more straightforward, much more direct. It would be just him and Hashem. He would be the only one in the whole world. He wouldn't pay attention. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. So even his close relatives, or the people that try to stop him, the rest of the world, that make fun of him and maybe pressure him also, masitim, and hold him back, even actively holding him back, from trying to serve Hashem. And it's very important not to pay any attention to them and not to look at them at all. That we should just be like Avram Avinu, we should look at ourselves and live our lives like we're the only person in the whole world with regards to serving Hashem, and no one else who's trying to stop us from serving Hashem is even taken into consideration. As if we're the only person in the whole world, as mentioned above. So this is brought here also it's Hashmata, but it's brought here as the first little chapter here. It's mentioned in Breslov circles. They say that this is because it's a sort of introduction to Likutei Moharan, the second part of Likutei Moharan. Not specifically, and here why it's specifically the second part, but it's like an introduction to. If we want to learn Likutei Moharan, or we want to really get from it, so the real way to do it is by serving Hashem with real sincerity and real truth, and part of that is not paying attention to other people that try to stop us from serving Hashem, and this is the only way that we can actually come to serving Hashem properly. So if we want to learn the rest of the Sefer, This is something that we have to do. It's true with anything, but especially if we're trying to learn very very high and very intense things, and it's all about Lamaisa, all Likutei Moharan is very practical, so it's very difficult, and we have a lot of people that are trying to stop us. Sometimes we ourselves try to stop ourselves, but here, speaking about people from the outside, and we have to pay no attention to anyone that's trying to stop us from serving Hashem. And the Rebbe says that when a person goes into higher kedusha, so he gets extra manias, extra deterrence. Extra people will try to stop him. All sorts of difficulties he'll find even from the outside. And in order to overcome these, one of the big things we have to overcome is to not pay attention to other people. The Rebbe brings it that often other people can cause a person to do a lot worse than he himself would ever do. If you were alone, a person could imagine a person would never think of killing somebody. But if somebody is pushing him and trying to make him and convincing him and teaching him how and helping him do it, so then maybe for a lot of money, and maybe if he feels that it's a little bit socially accepted, or if it's normal, then he'll end up doing it. So often from the outside, a person can come to influences and can come to situations where he'll end up doing something which he himself would never have had a Yetzer Hara to ever do. So a lot of times from the outside, a person can be influenced way more, and a person has to be we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful not to be influenced and held back from serving Hashem by other people. Peer pressure or social acceptance and these types of things are some of the biggest things that almost everybody in the whole world experiences it. It's just it's a conscious thing. We feel conscious from we think about what other people think. Something that's normal. So this is one of the most important types of manias, one of the most important types of deterrence that we have, and it's all psychological. If we just looked at it in this way, we were the only ones in the whole world, and we don't care what anyone else in the whole world thinks, then half of our manias, half of our things that held us back would just disappear. If not, almost all of them. I don't know. Maybe it seems to make a big Indian out of this Indian, out of people stopping from serving Hashem, and it's very logical. It makes a lot of sense why it's such an important and such a fundamental thing in serving Hashem. Okay, so with this we're going to start Likutei Moharan, Tinyana Torah Aleph. Tiku b'chodesh shofar b'kesed yom hagenu. This is the introductory pasuk. We should blow the shofar in the month. B'kesed yom hagenu, and the Gemara explains when the kesed means covered, one time when the clouds are covering up. When the moon is covered, and that's B'Yom Chagenu also. B'Yom Chagenu, this is referred to Gemara Darshans out. This talking about Rosh Hashanah, the Chag that falls out on the beginning of the Jewish month, which is when the moon is hidden, is specifically Rosh Hashanah. We don't have any other main Chagim that fall out on the Rishon L'Chodesh. Most of them are set at the 15th. The middle of the Chodesh, when the moon is the strongest, which it just represents the Shekhinah being the strongest, being most revealed, the strongest at that point. That when the moon in general represents the Shekhinah, like we see in Torah Aleph and in Chelek Aleph, in Likutei Moharan, it speaks about it there, and the moon receiving from the sun refers to the moon, the Shekhinah receiving from Zampin, from the upper spheres. And then the godliness in the world is revealed. The Shekhinah is divine presence, is the resting of Hashem's Kedusha inside this world. And when the Shekhinah is strong, it means that Hashem is resting here in this world in a very strong way, and it's revealed. And we can see it. The Shekhinah is something that when there's a great revelation of the Shekhinah, when the Shekhinah is very strong, so then it's something that we could sense Kedusha. When the Beis Mikdash was around, the Shekhinah was in a different state. It was in a much stronger state. We were able to experience Kedusha in a much more tangible, much more recognizable way. We're able to recognize Kedusha. So that's why most of our Chagim come out on the 15th, which represents the strength of the Kedusha, the revelation of godliness in this world. And Rosh Hashanah is a Chiddush that it's it falls out on Rosh Chodesh, which is on the first of the month of Rosh Chodesh. which is when the moon is not out, it's totally covered. That's the pasuk. The Rebbe in general brings a pasuk in the beginning of the Torah and then explains it at the end. That's just the way the Torahs and the Likutei Moharan are built. So, Ki Eish Yisraeli Nivra, Sheyeh Lo Memshala Ala Malachim. A Jewish person was created to have rulership over Malachim. V'zeh Tachlis V'Asof Shel Yisrael. And this is the purpose and the end of the Jewish people. Meaning the final place that we're going to get to is to have rulership over angels. This is something that's very interesting. We're going to speak about this and we're just going to get a little further. That also, as it says in the Gemara Yerushalmi, that the tzaddikim will in the future have a more internal place closer to Hashem than even the Malach HaSharis. As it says, and now it will be said to Yaakov and to Israel, what did Hashem do? Meaning that the angels will ask that the angels will have to ask the Jewish people what Hashem is doing, because when the messages come out from Hashem, so to speak, or the das and the Gzirus, when they come out from Hashem, so they come out one step after the next. And since we're going to be closer to Hashem, it's going to come out, we're going to hear it first, and then it's going to be passed on to the angels. But right now it's not like that. Right now the angels in general, they hear all the messages first. They hear all the closer to Hashem, and they hear all the pu'ulos of Hashem, all the actions of Hashem, what He's going to do or what He did do. They hear it first, at least more than before most of the Jewish people, and afterwards it's given over to us. In the future, it's going to be different. Now, Rav Nosson points out that what is this fundamental difference between human people and angels? Angels, we would think, are much greater than us. Why? What is it exactly that brings us to be higher than them? And the answer is, he says, that we are created with freedom of choice. And the main kedusha, the main glory that Hashem gets from this world is dafka through people when they have difficult situations, when they have freedom of choice and we overcome. That's when we give glory to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Angels don't have that. They don't have freedom of choice, and they don't overcome the Yetzer Haras, and they don't overcome obstacles. It's not really an obstacle for them. It's not. They do what they're told, and they don't have a Yetzer Hara. They don't have a desire to not do what Hashem wants. For us, when we have a desire to not do what Hashem wants, and when we overcome it, so we bring a revelation of godliness in this world. We bring glory to Hashem. We do like a Kiddush Hashem. It's a very difficult thing that we're doing, Moser Nefesh, in a way that the angels don't do. So that's dafka comes out through Bechira. This is a very, very important, through freedom of choice. This is a very, very important aspect of our existence. One of the most important things. The Rebbe said in one place, he said, you see the trees, you see the birds, you see everything around you, it's all for freedom of choice. Everything Hashem created was just to create man, where Hashem would get such great kavod from man overcoming all sorts of different obstacles and serving Hashem regardless of all the difficulties. This is why He created everything. And this is why we are created, this is what we're here for. So even though right now we're in a much, much lower state, it's dafka from this low state and this Yetzer Hara that we experience, and all the low states that we have, all the different aspects of it, not just the Yetzer Hara, the different physicality that we're in, and we're serving Hashem even without high spiritual perceptions. We don't have Ruach HaKodesh, and we don't see Hashem, and we're serving Hashem more based on Emunah and more simple things, and even so, we're still coming close to Hashem, and we're still serving Hashem, we're doing very difficult things. This brings much more cover to Hashem than all the angels. The angels, in a sense, again, this isn't brought down, but in a sense, they're like robots. They are in a sense like animals, which do what they're created to do. They have a teva, they have a nature, and their nature is to go after what Hashem says, to follow what Hashem says. And this is something that we don't have as much, and we have to overcome our nature. And this is the most fundamental struggle and work that we have in this world. So because of that, because we bring the greater revelation of kavod and godliness in this world, and the angels don't, because the angels were just created good, and they didn't overcome any difficulties, they didn't overcome the biggest difficulties of Yetzer Hara and Gashmis, physicality. So in the end, when it comes time for our reward, when it comes time to see what we really did, then we're going to find ourselves on a higher level than the angels. And that's going to be in the future, when it could be even after Mashiach comes, in one of the stages in the future. And each one of us obviously have to see to it that we come to this purpose, that we should have rulership over the angels, meaning by doing mitzvahs and overcoming Yetzer Hara. However, we have to see to it that we have to protect ourselves to see that we should have strength to stand in this memshala. This memshala, this rulership over malachim, which we can achieve even in this world, even though it won't happen in an absolute sense, in a general sense. The Jewish people as a whole, all the Jewish people will not be more close to Hashem. We aren't more close to Hashem right now. Most of us are farther away from malachim. In general, we don't, we do a lot of things that keep us away from Hashem and keep us farther away from Hashem. And certainly we don't experience, we don't see the closeness that we are more than the malachim, even if we do have it in certain aspects. We've raised ourselves above certain malachim. But whenever we do go one step up closer to Hashem, so we have to make sure that we don't, that when we're going above malachim, every time that we step up and we serve Hashem, so we're going to see they get jealous. And we have to make sure that we can stand up against the jealousy. We have to make sure to it that they don't get jealous of us, and they don't throw us down, meaning bring us down and cause us to do averes. Rav Nosson says something like, all of the averes that we do and all the Yetzer Haras that we have is all because of Kinas HaMalachim. When we try to come close to Hashem, the way Hashem built the world, the way Hashem set it up, was that the angels would get jealous, and the angels would stop us and try to pull us down and give us nisyonos, and all these nisyonos come from the Kinas HaMalachim, because they were created with a great jealousy, and they have a jealousy against us, or they don't want us to, in a certain sense, to have rulership over them. As we've seen that we find like in Gemara Chagiga and in other places by Chazal, that there were many Gedolim that the Malach HaSharis tried to push them down. There were many times where some of the Tanaim were tested by Malachim to do a mamash averes, and tried to get some of the very big tzaddikim to do znus and to do all sorts of other averes, and they did a lot of work to try to get these things, to try to get these big tzaddikim to do averes. We're going to see some more stories about this later on. Okay. So, the advice for this, how to protect ourselves from Kinas Malachim, from the jealousy of Malachim, to attach ourselves to the neshamas of Klal Yisrael. And this will protect us from through the iskashus will be protected from them trying to bring us down. They won't be able to bring us down. Some of the explanations I heard, again, this is from some of the Mefarshim on the Kudiman, that it could be that since we're makash ourselves to all of Klal Yisrael, that the angels don't have power to bring down all of Klal Yisrael. They can bring down each individual person, but they don't have power to bring down everyone all at once. So when you're attached to everybody, then the angels won't have power to bring you down. And this is the concept of the Bechina of Machas Pnei Kisei, holding on to the Kisei Kavod, that a person has to hold on to the root of the Neshamas. Which is carved out from underneath the Kisei Kavod. Shehi Bechinas Em Kol Chai, which is a Bechina of Em Kol Chai, the Bechina of the mother of all that is living. V'zeh Bechinas Mash Amar B'Seinu Zechon Haracha B'Shah She'ala Moshe Lamar. But before we get to this story, I'm just going to explain the inyan of Kisei Kavod. He's saying that all of our neshamas, all of the Shoshei neshamas, all the neshamas of the Jewish people was taken out from Tachas Kisei Kavod. So Kisei Kavod then is the Bechina of the mother that's all living, because we were all created from the Kisei Kavod, from underneath the Kisei Kavod. So we're going to see later on that also the mother of all living is Chava. So Chava, Kisei Kavod, and the Shoshei neshamas, these are all one Bechina. So we attach ourselves to the Kisei Kavod, is attaching ourselves to the Shoshei neshamas, which is Ein Kol Chai, is the mother of all that's living, because we were created from underneath the Kisei Kavod, from Tachas Kisei Kavod. Okay, now we're going to give an example of when Moshe Rabbeinu went up into Shamayim, how the angels wanted to push him down. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim, the Malach Hashar said, what is a person born from a woman, a human being, what is he doing amongst us up in Shamayim? Amar lahem lekabel Torah. He said, he came to receive the Torah. Amar asher tmeholcha al Shamayim v'chulu. They answered that they don't want, that they want Hashem to give the Torah onto Shamayim. They didn't want them to give. They didn't want that Hashem should give the Torah to the people. Hashem said to Moshe, answer them. Answer their taina. They don't want the Torah to be given down to the world. They want to stay up in Shamayim. They taina that we were going to do Averos. They saw that we were, we had the Yitzhar, and we could end up doing Averos, or that we would do Averos. And they said, why should we bring the Torah down to this world full of sheker, and that it's going to cause the Torah to be mechul. We're going to do Averos. So Hashem told Moshe to answer the Malach Hashem's. Amar, Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, Ani misyar shelo yisafuni b'hevel piyim. I'm afraid they're not going to burn me up with the breath of their mouths. So here Moshe Rabbeinu, the biggest of all the tzaddikim, goes up to Shamayim and is ready to be Makabel Torah. He's up to Shamayim for 40 days, not eating and not drinking. He's on a very high madriga, and still he said he's afraid that the angels could burn him up. And he doesn't want to fight here with the angels and to argue with them, because they could burn him with their fiery breaths. Amar lo, Hashem said to Moshe, Echos v'kisei kavod, hold on to my kisei kavod. Hainu shenasan lo Hashem yisbarach eitzel echos liskasha b'shoshei neshamas shem b'chinas kisei kavod em kol chai kana. Meaning that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, hold on to my kisei kavod. Hold on to the Shoshei Nishmas Yisrael, attach yourselves to all the source of all of the neshamas of all Klal Yisrael, which is Ein Kol Chai, the mother of all that's living, which is a Kisei Kavod. And in that way, you'll be saved. Shaydezeh Yenitzal Mikinas HaMalachim. And through this, you'll be saved from Kinas HaMalachim. They won't be able to hurt you, or they won't be jealous of you, or they won't be able to hurt you. And this is what we said before, that holding on to Kisei Kavod is the way to save yourself from Kinas HaMalachim.